Get a branded water bottle. Yeah. Hey legends, this is I Am Manifestation. I'm your conscious manifestation coach, Cerise, and I give you the cheat codes to win at the game of life. In today's video, I wanted to talk about manifesting physical / vanity changes. So on my live the other day, for those who don't know, I'm currently doing almost daily TikTok live streams. So my TikTok is linked below. Follow me on there, hit the notification bell on TikTok in the top right-hand corner, and you'll know when I go live because I go live at just random times whenever I have a chance to at the moment. But someone asked me about manifesting physical changes, and there are a few physical changes like that I can talk about that I have achieved even before understanding the law of assumption. But I want to talk about one that comes up the most, which is weight. If you find the topic of weight triggering, please skip this video until you're in a better mental space. The reason I say that is because I used to have major body image issues through my teens and my mainly my early 20s. And I did drastic things food and exercise wise to try and force my body in the physical world, right, to be something that I didn't think it was at the time. When I think about it, like, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, I was never diagnosed with anything formally, officially, but I would definitely say that I wouldn't be surprised if I had body dysmorphia, because if I think about the size that I'm at now and how comfortable I am in my body now at the size that I'm at now, I used to see something completely different. I don't want to say feel, because I know that that can be the wrong word to use in this instance, but I used to see something completely different in the mirror. Like, I saw a bigger body than I have now when I was like way smaller weight wise and clothes size wise. I hope that makes sense. Now I'm in a like very good place with it. I've done a lot of work. I did a lot of work mentally before I even understood the power of mind. Really, I just decided that, you know, as I was coming up to my 30th birthday, there were a lot of things that I was unhappy with. And even though I was a lot healthier in terms of my food and my exercise and everything, how I treated my body, I was really just doing that because I didn't want to fall back into the old unhealthy habits, but I also wasn't really like that happy with my body, if that makes sense. But that was like a fraction of the things I was dealing with. I was like, you know, I was used to very much be a glass half empty person. Like, people who walked around being positive all the time, like, pissed me off. And you don't have to be positive all the time to manifest, but you do tend to just be like in a better mood more of the time when you kind of use these cheat codes that I give you guys to make the conscious manifestation process easier. Anyway, I just kind of decided that even though I was more accepting of my body, I guess is the distinction. I was more accepting of my body as it was initially, like by the time I was coming up to my 30th birthday, but there were still things that I like wished were different, kind of thing. And so at that time, I like just decided I was going to tell myself that I like my thick thighs. When the thought of like my thick thighs popped into my head and I was like negative, negative, negative about it, I was like, no, I like my thick thighs. Thick thighs save lives, you know? I'd play that Shakira song whenever, wherever, and be like, you know, lucky that she says something about thick legs, strong legs, you know, I like started to see them as strong. I started to say that I liked them. And you know what? Like, my tiny, like naturally petite friends when I was younger, who I'm still friends with now, but you know, I live in a different country now and things like that. So I don't talk to them as much. But they always said to me that they wish they had more curves like I did. And now I love my curves. So I started by kind of saying that I liked my thick legs, that they were strong legs. And everything. And I'm not saying that like if you have naturally slim legs, there's anything wrong with you, right? It's about being happy with programming yourself to like how you are, but also, yes, you can change those things. So anyway, that was a fucking huge tangent. So because I'm okay mentally with my weight, there have been 2 times in the last few years, one where I was just at the kind of higher end of the range that I hover at, that I'm like very comfortable with, where I just was like, do you know what? Like, I teach this stuff. I want to try it, experiment with this particular thing, like physical changes, so that I'm able to talk about it and how it works. And the second time was when I was going through a lot of stress, and I got like I was a few kilos higher than the higher of the range that I would normally hover at. I was uncomfortable. Yeah, so I didn't really feel comfortable in my clothes. So I'll go through the first one first because I'll tell you my pitfalls as well. So the first time I decided to do this, again, I didn't feel any need to lose weight. I didn't really care. I was quite content and happy with where I was and how I felt and looked in my clothes. But I was at the higher end of the range that I normally hover at, like the spectrum where I'm comfortable, that I naturally hover in now because like I guess I have a bit of a belief that that's just where I hover and I'm fine with that. But for the purpose of experimentation, I decided that I was going to go to the end goal of like the lower end of my weight range. I think it was actually like a kilo less than the lower end of my weight range that I would normally hover at. And I was like, I'm just going to tell myself that's what I weigh. And I didn't weigh myself like all the time or anything, but every time I did, I was like, oh, cool. Like insert the end goal weight here. Oh, cool. And I realized that this might be a little bit harder for people who, for health reasons, may have a larger amount of weight to lose or something like that. So you can manifest in steps if that is the case. For me, it was a matter of a few kilos. So I was just like, oh, cool. I weigh blah, blah, blah. Oh, cool. Blah, blah, like just say the number. And I can't remember now because this was a couple of years ago. I can't remember exactly how long it took, but it took no time at all. Where by the time I spoke about it, I wasn't quite at that goal, like end goal weight that I had in my mind, but I was like less than a kilo away from it by the time I did a podcast episode on it. As I've spoken about before, either on my YouTube or other platforms, I forget what I've done on all of them. Manifestation isn't logical, so don't try to put yourself in situations where you think you'll be like it'll be the logical link to your manifestation if you don't feel good about being in those situations or around those people or whatever it might be, because that's your body trying to tell you that's not part of it, okay? And trying to deter you away from what's not part of the path of least resistance, the most efficient path to your manifestation. But because of the world we live in, when you look back at the path that led to you getting the thing that you wanted, when you get it, when you've manifested it in, you can see a logical path. In the moment, most of the time, you won't know you're taking inspired action. Most of the time, you won't be aware that what you're doing is part of it, okay? So when I got to really close to the goal weight that I had in mind, and it was so quick that it happened, that I was like happy to talk about it on my podcast. I looked back and I could see that I had inspired action to rein in my carbs because, for those who don't know, I have PCOS, which, yes, I could manifest it away, but I don't get any symptoms of it because I eat low carb now. So I don't feel any need to just, and I enjoy eating low carb. And I don't know, I like a lot of people freak out about eating low carb. It's not, I don't eat keto low. I can still enjoy a lot of like a decent amount of carbs. But anyway, I've been doing that for way longer than I've understood conscious manifestation. So I'm happy to just kind of keep, for the most part, eating that way and having my treats here and there. And I make low carb treats anyway. I'm in fact going to be baking myself a fucking delicious low carb, gut friendly chocolate cake after I record some of these videos. So I had the inspired action to rein my carbs in a bit because of my hormonal levels from my PCOS. I play touch rugby, but I've taken a bit of a break from that. That's a story for another day, because that is part of other manifestations. But at the time, a lot of the people that I played with on the Wednesdays that I'd been playing for years were also on a team so I played standard touch on Wednesdays. And then there was a touch rugby team that they were in on Mondays for a different league. And they needed girls. So I felt inspired to go, yeah, I wouldn't mind picking up an extra day, because I had seen so much improvement in my skills because I had never played touch before I joined the Wednesday team. I had seen such an improvement in my skills by being consistent once a week. I was like, you know what? I'd love to, like, summer was coming up, the weather was nice, like be outside, be around some new people as well. Like, even though there was a lot of crossover in players, I wanted to like meet new people as well, because it's a social touch team. And I wanted to see my skills improve, which they definitely did. But obviously, I was exercising more as well. So I could see that like lowering my carbs and picking up the extra exercise. And then we also like played sometimes on the weekend to like just amongst ourselves because the weather was nice and we all fucking loved the game kind of thing. So that's how that kind of happened. When I looked back at it, I was like, oh, okay, I can see how that happened. Here's the pitfall the second time that I wanted to lose the weight. This was a time where I was like, again, like I said, I got to the point where I was uncomfortable. I was a bit bigger than I would normally be on the highest end of my like comfortability scale with my weight. And none of the things that had logically seemed like was part of the bridge of incidents to get me to the weight that I wanted to be at the last time, which I did end up getting to, by the way. It was probably like a couple 100 grams off, but like I didn't care to be that small either. It was an experiment, right? None of those things worked the second time. And the reason for that is I was trying to force the physical world. I was doing what seemed like the logical link to getting to my goal weight, right? And none of those things worked. And it wasn't until I got burnt out by playing as much touch as possible, being around people that were really toxic, that I felt anxious being around all the time, which yes, you can recreate, but they were in my face all the time. And this is why sometimes distancing yourself instead of affirming through those shitty feelings is the best thing to do. Like all of those things were signaling to me to stop playing, but I kept playing. Yes, I love the game, but I kept playing through the anxiety and around people that I didn't feel comfortable with anymore because it seemed like the logical way to do an exercise that I enjoyed that had led to me losing the weight before. I also tried reining in my carbs and like if anything, the weight was just creeping up bit by bit and I was getting so frustrated. And eventually I got burnt out from my nervous system being on high alert all the time, the anxiety, and probably playing more touch through that, like through the burnout that like was creeping up on me. I was still forcing myself to go when I was tired and my body was saying, no, you're anxious, you're tired. Like, why are you going? And I kept going. And I kept being around these people as well. And when I eventually got burnt out to the point where I was like, I actually just can't go and play today. Like my legs feel like lead. I feel like it's just too hard. I can't play. I need to take a break. I took a break. Side note of the weight loss, I felt my anxiety dissipate and felt relief, which was telling me I was on the right track. But even though I basically stopped exercising short of some leisurely walks and stretches, the weight dropped off really quickly. Those two examples are to tell you that what seems like the logical link to your end goal, using physical changes as the example in this instance, isn't if it doesn't feel good. Okay. So as long as you're thinking in line with the end goal already being the case or a step on the way without micromanaging, right? So like if you have a larger amount of weight that you want to lose for health reasons or whatever and going straight to the end goal weight seems overwhelming, you can do like 10 kilos at a time or whatever like increments you would go by where you're from, like how you measure it, like pounds, whatever, stone, etc. As long as you're thinking in line with that end goal or the step on the way already being the case now, and then you follow and do the things that feel good, even though they don't seem like the logical link to your manifestation, which could be rest, right? It could be rest, and avoid the things that don't feel good, which could be exercise, which could be, cutting calories. I don't count anything now because that used to fuck with my head a lot when I had my body image issues. But I can tell you right now that it doesn't make sense that I eat as much food energy, as I do now that I'm at the size that I'm at and that I don't really worry about my weight. Because I now have done enough work up here that I'm like, yeah, this is where I sit. And I know, and I've learned the hard way, that if something doesn't feel good, even though it seems like the logical way to stay the certain weight that I want to be, it isn't if it doesn't feel good. Okay. So you can trust that as long as you're living from the end goal or the step along the way, because even the end goal is a step, it's just a larger one. Life goes on after you get to your goal weight or you get the manifestation that you want. As long as you're thinking in line with that. Sorry, I keep not finishing the sentence. As long as you're thinking in line with that, and then listening to the signals your mind is sending your body to either stay away from something or to go towards something, that is what you should be doing or not doing. Okay. What feels good, you do. What doesn't feel good, you don't. As long as you're thinking in line with the end goal, those feelings are steering you in the right direction. But if you're reacting with your thoughts to like the scale or your clothes or what people say, firstly, stay away from those people until they change in line with your thoughts about yourself. But if you're reacting to those things, then your mind is going to think that you want more of that because you manifest what you most consistently think and subconsciously believe, not what you want, right? If you're thinking in line with that, with things that go against your end goal, then the feelings that you get will be steering you in the wrong direction. I hope that makes sense. And obviously, I use the example of weight, but you can use the same principles for any physical change that you want. Okay. All manifestation happens the same way. You can also use these principles to manifest anything that you want, right? It's all just about thinking from the end goal, following the signals your mind is then sending your body in terms of feelings to steer you in the direction of the end goal or away from things that are not in line with the end goal. Distracting your mind with things that feel good, doing things that you enjoy, doing your nervous system regulation so that you are calmer, and that makes it easier to stay on top of your thoughts, just like doing things that you enjoy helps. Like it's easier to stay on top of your thoughts when you feel good, right? Can you affirm through the anxiety? Can you affirm through putting yourself in shitty situations just because someone might be there? Or like weighing yourself, even though it's triggering? Yeah, you can affirm through it, but it's doing things the harder way as opposed to the smarter way. So if those things are triggering to you, don't look at them. But like try it when you feel good. You naturally will find it easier to stay on top of your thoughts. Even if the opposing thoughts pop into your mind, it'll be easier to counteract them than when you're staring at something that's showing you the old story and you're like trying to like affirm through it. Okay. So I can absolutely do follow-up videos for any of these videos that I make. If there's something that I haven't answered for you or that was unclear, because I don't script them because I get tongue-tied when I script them. So I just try to go off like what comes up for me naturally and honor the tangents that I go on. But you can absolutely ask for me to further elaborate on things in a future video. So there are any of you that give this a try, let me know how you go. Oh, what I would like to add though is if you're not doing your self-concept work, even if you get to your goal weight or goal physical change, you're not going to be able to maintain it because you're still going to have the old mentality that you had that meant that you couldn't have that physicality in the past or stay at your goal weight or whatever it was, right? So don't forget to sign up to the no obligation to fucking buy. You don't have to buy it when it comes out. But sign up to the no obligation to buy solid self-concept course waitlist in the description below. So if you are ready to admit and accept that self-concept is a super important part of being able to sustain your manifestations when you get them in, because yes, you can manifest things in, but you won't be able to hold on to them if you're still the same version of you that you were when you couldn't have them in the past or hold on to them in the past. If you're ready to admit that it's an important thing and you don't want to ignore it anymore, or by the time it comes out, then you have the chance to get the 50% off. Or, you know, you don't have to do the course as soon as you purchase it either. So you can purchase it at the 50% off rate and then do it when you're ready. That's linked below. Sign up for it and you'll get a 50% off code when it's released. It's really a no-brainer. Why would you not give yourself the option to have it at half price when it's released? Okay. So that's where I'm going to wrap it up today. You're a fucking legend. Don't you ever forget it. And until next time, have a good one. Hey legends, this is I Am Manifestation. I'm your conscious manifestation coach, Cerise. I can't even say my fucking name. Cerise.